Welcome to another edition of the Insider Hoop Scoop. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Well, mighty Joe, whew, man, this is what you love about sports, right? Is that anything can happen at any time. The Red Raiders escaped in overtime, 84-80 over Oklahoma State, right after smoking Kansas, mighty Kansas, by 29 points. It's just the roller coaster of a season. But the bottom line is that's 6 straight wins, Joe. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You really can't complain. I mean, listen, Marquette, 10 in the country. They lost last night to Villanova. Yep. Tech takes care of TCU. They're going to be top 10 in the country come the next poll, probably. Yep. You can't complain. This is a team that, obviously that win last night isn't going to blow anybody's doors off, but the overall body of work. This is like a solid number 3 seed right now, just like they were last year, with the chance finishing strong, even to be a number 2 seed going into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's high cotton right there. So, this is a team that was expected by most people, not us, to crash and burn comparatively this year. And look, they could even exceed last year's expectations.
Yeah.
So you got to look at the whole picture. Last night was a rough patch. They survived, though. They got the win. No damage was done. And so everybody heaves a sigh of relief. Yeah. And says, all right, let's get it back together now for TCU, because you're going to have to. You're going to get TCU's best shot.
Now, we were both there, and the atmosphere wasn't all that great, especially at first. It was ugly. It was kind of an ugly. Well, it was. It was an ugly game. It was an oddly officiated game, even for the Big 12. And then Tech, had a lot of things going against them, where it was like a lot of shots were in and out. All those bank shot three-pointers that were going in for you against Kansas, shots that should have been, were missing. So things were kind of evening out against Oklahoma State. And then Lindy Waters was kind of, early in the game, was kind of flexing and posturing and stuff. And I remember rolling my eyes. I'm like, what a joke. Like, you're about to get smoked, buddy. And then the Waters show happened. I mean, you got to tip the cap at some point. I mean, I've seen a lot of basketball. I know you have too, Joe. And that was one of the great performances, long distance performances I've ever seen, especially clutch. Somebody mentioned Reggie Miller on Twitter, I think I saw, and it was very Reggie Miller-ish as far as him or Isaiah Thomas heating up at the end, and just going crazy like that. That was, and a couple of those, well, actually, several of those, y'all, were heavily contested, and he was just had a kind of a refuse to lose kind of thing going on. And what impressed me was that despite all the barrage of three-pointers from Oklahoma State, Texas Tech still won, man.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State couldn't have done anything more.
No.
I mean, that was it. They maxed out. I mean, that was about the best they could possibly do. And Tech obviously was far off of their game compared to what we saw against Kansas. Sure. This wasn't quite the same Texas Tech team. And so, you factor that in, and you are playing a Big 12 opponent. I mean, Oklahoma State obviously is a depleted team, right. And they're not going to be in postseason play or anything like that. No. But look, a Big 12 team, you got to respect them. So you factor all that in. Big 12 team, they're playing their best. You're not at your best. Coming off a huge emotional win, maybe a little bit of a letdown. Sure. I think maybe what happened with this game for Texas Tech is based upon that earlier win in Stillwater, when they beat Oklahoma State by 28 points. Yeah. I figured, well, the team was probably thinking to itself, hey, they couldn't hang with us in their place. They're sure not going to be able to hang with us.
Texas Tech.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's just human nature. And Beard and the coaching staff obviously were preaching against that. Sure. Don't overlook them. Don't overlook them. But I think they underestimated what Oklahoma State was capable of doing based upon that earlier game. And so they didn't come in completely dialed in, especially on the defensive end. And it almost came back to bite them.
It did.
So it was... Yeah, I mean, I'm still got the shakes a little bit, after that one. It was something else.
Who, real quick, last thing I'll say about Oklahoma State, who I'm starting to really respect is Mike Boynton, their head coach. And I tell you what, they have a pretty dang good recruiting class coming in. So watch out for Oklahoma State next year. Now, as far as for the Red Raiders, 6 in a row. They've won, 7 of 8? Is that right? Wow. Or 8 of 9, I think, something like that. I think it's 8 of 9. Can't keep up with it. So many wins. That's crazy. But they're tied for first place in the Big 12 with Kansas State. So, look, up next, TCU, right? There. which is kind of a quasi-home game for the Red Raiders. You know, I mean, we've been there, we've experienced it, where, I mean, there's almost as much red as purple there. So that's a really good opportunity for the Red Raiders to keep this rolling. And TCU's coming off, what is it, overtime loss to West? Was it triple? I didn't see it was triple. Triple overtime loss to West Virginia, who's not good, you know, but anything can happen. So, you know, TCU got the other end of the stick. Tech actually was able to endure and win. But this is, bottom line is Texas Tech has to win this game. They have to go to TCU and they have to win this game, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to win the Big 12 title or a share of it, yeah, they've got to. They got to. I don't know what to make of this game. I mean, because, you know, I mean, I guess the general consensus would be that the tough outing against Oklahoma State was kind of an aberration. It was a function of coming off of that Kansas win, maybe overlooking Oklahoma State. So maybe it doesn't really indicate anything about Texas Tech. On the other hand, you know, I talk about this a lot, is teams tend to go through those cycles. You know, they go up, they go down, they up peaks and valleys and so forth and so on. There is just a possibility that this could be the beginning of one of those dips. Now, I'm not saying that's the case.
You just freaked all the Red Raider fans out there. Way to go.
Myself out too. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, if it's the latter, then they could be in trouble. Now, but the other side of the equation, obviously, is TCU. How much did that triple overtime loss going all the way up to Morgantown, how much, if anything, did it take out of them? I mean, that's rough to have a loss like that, and especially a triple overtime. I mean, this time of the year, your legs are already halfway gone, you know, and so something like that. But the thing is, you also have to factor in that they're squarely on the bubble. So in the worst possible way, they need to beat Texas. If they beat Texas Tech, they're probably in. Yeah. You know, it comes down to this could be like for the whole enchilada for them as to whether they are in the NCAA tournament or whether they're in the NIT. Yeah. You know,
and they got Kansas State on Big Monday right after that, right?
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, there's just a whole lot of stuff circling around this game. Tech dominated TCU earlier in Lubbock, but now we can see what all that means, right? I mean, same thing with Oklahoma State, and look what almost happened. So it's I just don't know. It'd be interesting to see what the spread is going to be on this from the boys in the desert. I figure Tech will probably be favored, but maybe not by a whole lot. Maybe by 3, 4, 5 points.
Maybe so. The thing with the matchup with Tech and TCU is if there's a finesse, and I've mentioned this before, if there's a finesse team in the Big 12, it's TCU. They're just not that tough compared to a lot of the other teams. So I think the Red Raiders match up well against the Horned Frogs. But like you said, if they're going down on the roller coaster as opposed to keep going up, like, you know, if they peaked against Kansas, then watch out. But it'll be interesting to see, Mighty Joe. As always, great stuff from you. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.